Okay, so today is the 5th of December 2021. Thank you for all those who could join. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit from Mark chapter 6, verse 30. So I will, and as mentioned before, we studied the book of, the 10 Commandments last week, and we're reflecting on that. And in continuation of the thought of that, I want to carry over to the New Testament. So this is Mark chapter 6, verse 30 onwards. I shall read. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Okay, so this is the apostles. They had gathered around. So now, after doing their work and ministry for all this time, they come and report to him. So they have a time of fellowship with him, a communion with him, and they tell him all they've done and they've taught. So they're not only done, which is healing and exorcisms and praying for the sick and all that stuff, but also what they've taught. They've taught about the Old Testament, the prophets, about Jesus, the kingdom of heaven is here, and so on and so forth. So they came and reported all to Jesus. So two things we see is the apostles went out and did the work during the week. Right? They did what they had to do. Number two is they came together for a time of reporting, discussion, review, and all that stuff. Then, because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat. Yeah, so that's how busy these guys were. Because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat. So that's how busy, how occupied these guys were. And the work they were doing was, of course, very important, very meaningful. So they did spend that time. But then he said to them, who is he? Jesus. Jesus said to him, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. There it is Sabbath in action, in a small way, or rather in a significant way, because this is Jesus himself, the master of the universe, says to the disciples, he says, come with me. Okay, all of you come with me. Come. So we have to take that initiative, that step, or rather he gives us an invitation and we have to come. He doesn't command, it's an open invitation, so to speak. Okay. He says, come with me. Okay. He doesn't say go by yourselves, go in a corner, go with your friends, go with this. He says, come with me. Okay. He says, come with me. Next is by yourselves. So don't bring the crowd with you. Don't bring the people, your family, your relatives, your work, your ministry, your this and that. Leave that behind. So there's a separation, a calling out, a coming out, and holiness. You know what the word holiness is, right? It means separate, to be separate from. That's what basically holiness means. Holiness. So when he says come out, he's saying be holy. Okay? Come out with me. Where? Not to the church or to a concert hall or something. He says to a quiet place. This is also very important. So when you do the Sabbath, when you enter the Sabbath rest with Jesus, we come to a quiet place, a place where there's no friction, where there's no fighting, there's no quarreling, there's no work, there's no tasks, there's no homework. It just says a quiet place where there's nothing happening, in a sense, because Jesus is there in that quiet place, in the place of rest. Jesus is there. And when you come with me, by yourselves, come with me. Okay, so let's separate it. Come, number one. With me, number two. By yourselves, number three. Number four, to a quiet place, you will get some rest. Okay, let's look at 5 counts. Okay, come with me, by yourselves, to a quiet place, and get some rest. This is what the Sabbath is about. And it is so wonderful that the apostles would experience true Sabbath in the presence of Jesus. And because of that, on the Sabbath day, see, Jesus and his disciples went and did ministry. On the chronological Sabbath day, they worked. They healed the sick, the deaf, the mute, the blind. They worked on the Sabbath day. So it is not about a chronological day that is sacred. It is about that special time when you spend with the Lord, away from everything else, when you're sanctified. Okay. So one lesson is there. So we can also see that in this context, Jesus was very concerned for the well-being of his disciples. And he had given them work, ministry to do, and he realized also that they needed rest. So in the same way, we should also rest in every sense, even giving rest to those who are under us, our subordinates as well. Okay. So next, so they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. So they took a retreat, camp, a rest place. But sadly, in this context. But many who saw them leaving, recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got ahead of them. So, as you know, it's a small lake. I don't know if you've been to the Lake of Gennesaret or Galilee. It's not very big, and probably they weren't going across on one side. Probably they were just going around, you know. So that's why people, I guess, could run, because they were guessing that, okay, there's here in this village area, maybe it's going to the other village area, so they were able to cross over. So that's why they ran ahead, and boats traveled pretty slowly, maybe 1 to kmph, you know, and running can be up to 15-20 kmph. You know, world's fastest runner runs about 40 kmph, and average runner runs 10-20 kmph. So if you think about it, they probably ran ahead and were waiting for Jesus. And in fact, as Jesus was boating, they were running and running and running and running, you know, just kept pace with him. So anyway, from all and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them, because they were like a sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. So remember also, amongst us even, there are many people who are like sheep without shepherds. Yeah, our friends, our relatives. The point is, what do we do? We may not be a so-called shepherd, but at least we can be a shepherd's helper, which means we can at least we can ask and plead on behalf of the shepherd. You know, we can pray to the shepherd. We can invite the sheep. We can lead and direct the sheep to the right shepherd. That is the work of an evangelist, a work of a missionary. We lead people to Jesus. We tell people about Jesus. And the work of a priest and a prophet is that we plead on behalf of the sheep. Okay. So don't be afraid. Don't say that I am not educated. I'm not a pastor, reverend, a bishop, or whatever. Doesn't matter. You know, the God, the Abba Father is listening to you. So the least you can do is pray. Okay. So what does Jesus do? He began teaching them many things. Verse 35. By this time it was late in the day, so the disciples came to him. This is a remote place, they said, and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. Okay, so it's logical. So it's getting late, and he said, let them go to villages and eat. But he answered, you give them something to eat. So Jesus' response, very unique, very special, was, instead of letting people feed for themselves and fend for themselves, he gave a challenge to the disciples and said, you feed them. Okay, let's see. Maybe it is a test. Then they said to him, that would take 8 months of a man's wages. Are we going to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? So is it that they don't have the money, or they were lazy, or they were greedy, or they were tired? Whatever reason it is, it was beyond them. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't take it. They couldn't comprehend it. They were limited by their circumstances or capacity. Okay. So Jesus says, so what does Jesus say? He says, how many loaves do you have? He said, go and see. So Jesus now comes in and says, go and find them. Okay. You can't handle it. You can manage it. It's too much for you. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. So maybe this is a test to see what the disciples are capable of. What was the response? You know? And then when they found out, they said 5 fish and 5 bread and 2 fish. 5 bread and 2 fish. Then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they all sat down in groups of 150s. Hundreds and 50s. That's a pretty big group. In fact, right now in church there's about hardly 50. 50 to 100 meets. So anyway, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the bread. Couple of things. One is, we don't know who gave those 5 fish and 2 loaves in this book of Mark. In some other section, in some other book, it says it's a boy, a small boy, a young boy gave his tiffin. Okay, but in this context, we don't know who actually gave his tiffin to Jesus, to the disciples. In that sense, and this food was used to bless so many people. We know the story. Okay, point is, a few days ago, we had a pastoral meeting, and when I was in school also, the same question came to me during catechism class. That when you die, what do you want on your gravestone? What sort of obituary do you want? It is an elocution assignment or English assignment also. What do you want? What obituary do you want to be written when you die? How do you want people to remember you? Some people write, I want to be remembered as a great man, a great general, a great this, I've achieved this, I had so many children, whatever. Which is good, wonderful in one way. You want to be remembered for your achievements, for the 50 years, 100 years of life on earth, for the significance you had. That is fine. But if it becomes self-seeking, you're wrong. And that is what the world is after. They all want to be remembered, appreciated, regarded, honored, respected. Even within the church, people want to be called a bishop, the reverend, the right reverend, honors, so many honors they want. But the point is, in the end times, in the book of Matthew, we read, in the end times, God gathers the people together and says, the sheep on one side and the goat on one side, right? And he says, go away from me, I don't know you. Then a group of them will come up and say, but Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name? Didn't we heal the sick? Didn't we visit prisoners? Didn't we do so many things for you? But Jesus said, I don't know you. Get away from me. So the point is also that many times, just working for the Lord without working with the Lord, without being with the Lord, without having that Sabbath rest with the Lord, you're nothing. We are nothing. Even this, and the beautiful thing is this boy, this small child, whoever gave us Tiffin, God knows him. We don't know him. We don't know anything about him. But remember, God knows him. And that is more important, more precious, more beautiful. I live in Kohima. We can go to the war cemetery, even in Nepal is the war cemetery. You go to the war cemetery, have you seen the gravestones? Captain this, Major this, Corporal this, from England, from Scotland, from Wales, from Ireland, from so on and so forth. And then you will see a few of them which says, known only to the Lord. The unknown soldier. I mean, isn't that more precious? I don't care if the world knows me, if God doesn't know me. The world knowing me is nothing if God doesn't know me. So even in ministry, be happy, be joyful, be satisfied to give everything to God without looking for recognition or appreciation or position, or do what needs to be done because it needs to be done for the glory of God. Okay, so that's what it is here. This is one lesson we can take from the boy who gave the fish and loaves. The second lesson is also, we see that God works in order. He's a God of order. So he made the people sit in groups of 50s and 100s. He didn't haphazardly make them sit. Plus, it's efficient. 50 to 100 is actually a very efficient number. It is not groups of 5s or 15 or 20 or 500. Groups of 50s and 100s. It's a very manageable number. So we have a lesson in management here also. And, we can see that God is a God of order, of systems. Okay. Then what does he do? Verse 41. He takes the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. Looking up to heaven, he gave thanks. What did he do? This is very important. Yeah, he gave thanks. Think about it. He didn't plead God. He didn't beg the Father. He didn't. The point is, he came out of a place of thanks. This is the key. Blessing comes from a place of thanks. Even if you don't have it in you, see this? When you thank God, you will have it. So it is prophecy. When you give thanks, you are prophesying. What is prophecy? It is the 2 levels. One is to reveal what has been given to you. Wow, actually, to reveal, because sometimes you already have it, but you don't know what it means. The next thing is to reveal what is to come. So when you give thanks, in a sense, you're being a prophet also, and it comes from the place of gratitude. And so we see Jesus had such an intimate relationship with God the Father, and we also, through Jesus, can have that same level of intimacy with God the Father. Before Jesus came, people had to go through the blood of goats and bulls and lambs to the temple and do the whole bloody process for God to hear their prayers. It was very difficult. Okay. And they needed to go to priests and prophets. They couldn't face God alone. But because of the blood of Jesus, we can see Jesus face to face. We can talk to the Father face to face. And how do we talk to him? Is simply give thanks. You see, so when we invite God into our workplaces, you say, for example, God, I thank you for the healing you have for me, for the healing you have in the hearts of my parents, for the healing you have ordained for brother Stephen's mother who's got cancer. I thank you, Father, for giving me success in my studies. So, because you do know, you realize, you understand that God is the God of blessing, and your motivations, of course, in the book of James, you'll read, we ask because true good motives, the right motives, God will bless it. And all you need to do is we thank God. Okay. So we see that Jesus thanked God the Father, and when he started distributing the bread, see, let's go further, verse 41. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the bread. By the way, that's breaking is also very important. He didn't give him the whole loaf. He broke it. Breaking is also a very important part of our growth process. We all have to be broken. Only when we're broken, then we can be spread out. God needs to work on us. That's very important. Okay. Allow yourself for God to break you. For example, when I go take an auto ride, okay, I may have a 2,000 rupee note and I give it to the guy, but the ride is 50 rupees. This guy says, I don't want it. I don't have change. So you think a 2,000 rupee note is very valuable, but then you roam around 10 minutes trying to look for a change. Till the note is broken, literally changed, it's useless, practically useless. In the same way, even for us, we need to be broken down into parts, in pieces by God. Then we can be useful. You understand this? That is a lesson for all of us. If you are full of yourself, there's no room for anything else. If you're one solid piece of rock, you need to be broken down and crushed into gravel to make that road. You know that, right? Roads are made of gravel, pieces of stone and tar, and so on and so forth. If you take one huge boulder and put it there on the road, it's useless. They're going to blast it to pieces with dynamite. And that needs to be done, So there's another lesson over there. He takes those and breaks it, and then finally he's able to divide it. Same thing he does. He said them to the disciples, said before the people. He also divided 2 fish among them. They all ate and were satisfied. That's another beautiful thing. So when the Lord gives you, you eat, you enjoy, and be satisfied. Please remember this. There are many people in the world who eat and have, but they're never satisfied. There's a big key difference. Mr. Ambani, Anil Ambani, the senior, he was one of the world's richest man, but he had such bad stomach problems. He just ate curd and kheer and stuff like that. We hear of so many rich and powerful people who have everything in the world, but they're not satisfied. They have problems and issues. They grab and break their backs. But with the Lord, a little bit is also so satisfying. And that's what more important, isn't it? It's so sweet. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketful of broken pieces and of bread and fish. And the thing is, there's no wastage in the kingdom. Okay? There's no wastage. So every effort you put is not only wasted, it is actually a reserve, an outpouring, an overflow, which can also be used later, which will also be used later, so in that sense. So God always gives you more, and the more is for the benefit of others, so that you may share with others. Okay. And the number of men who had eaten was 5,000. That's not counting women and children. And I don't know if you know, but for example, we had our youth meeting yesterday on track, Cornerstone, and there were, I think, 12 guys and there were 24 women. And that's usually a pattern. There are more women. So if there are 5,000, and if you take that logic, there are probably 10,000 women, and maybe 105. And and usually in Israel, families didn't have 1 or 2 kids. They had like 10 or 15 kids. Okay, not 15, but it is large number. So if you think about, maybe there were 25,000 people. So that much food was provided for and taken care of, and there were 12 baskets left over. So when you trust in the Lord Jesus, when you give thanks to him, when you, like the disciples, they spend time in the Sabbath rest with the Lord, it gives you more blessing in every sense. And that is the gospel for us, and as the Amos shared also, yes, it is when you're with the Lord in Sabbath rest, holy and sanctified with him, then blessings pour out. You gain new wisdom, new understanding. You can reflect on things that happened in the past. You receive clarity. For example, a few days ago, I was just washing my dishes and I was thinking about my life. And then I realized that, when I was in college, in my Bible college, in my first year went okay. Second year, in the first month, I broke my back, literally. So I had to go for physiotherapy and traction and thing. So I lost that 1 year. Okay. Yeah, I lost the whole year. And then I had surgery and then recovery. And then next year only, on the third year, I joined. So when I joined the third year, I just realized I met two of my greatest friends and mentors at that time. You see, if I had continued with that one in the second year, in that year, and I would have graduated and left, I would not have met those two guys. And those, one of them has passed away, but the other one is still standing strong with me and helping me and praying with me, and was my closest mentor and friend. So that reflection came about when I was in rest, when I was talking to the Lord, thinking about things, that and a heart of gratitude. I just poured out in thanks for, even the moments of hardship and difficulty I had. I see that God has given me a blessing through that time also. So when you're spending time in Sabbath, God talks to you and reminds you and shows you things that happen in your life and why it happened and why it should have happened, or all these things. So that is what Sabbath rest is also about. Okay, so I will end here for today. And for those who missed it, you didn't miss it because I'm sending you the recording. So, and we'll share it with everybody so they can click on this for the future. And one more thing is, remember, in the kingdom of heaven, we recycle. What do I mean by that? It's like King Solomon said, everything is the same under the sun. So these messages that you hear from your teachers and your preachers, share it with everybody. Okay, we don't have copyright. God had copyright. He would have the right, but he doesn't. He shares it freely. You receive, freely give. So any knowledge and wisdom and information and sermons and songs we learn in the kingdom, it is free. Okay, so that is also how you will grow as a minister. This is tools, powerful tools I'm sharing with you, and your pastors are sharing with you. So you go and share this with your friends, your family, your classmates. Okay, God will help you and bless you more and more. Okay, so thank you. I will end here for now, and yeah, thank you.